So you want to work in the gun industry? We're going to tell you how to do that. Also, do 20 burpees and then practice your dry fires. Why? Well, you're going to find out that too. All that right now with Gary Killingsworth from Gun Talk. Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by ATN, the future of optics, Remington Ammunition, Armscor, and Safariland. We save lives. All right, Gary, welcome in, man.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
All right, Gary Killingsworth, you are on Team Gun Talk.
I am on Team Gun Talk. About a year and a half.
Yeah, but we've known each other for years.
Yeah.
You worked with Crimson Trace.
Yes.
And I just thought we'd just talk about guns because you're a gun guy.
Yep.
I mean, were you a gun guy before you even started with Crimson Trace?
I definitely was a gun guy before. That's what brought me to Crimson Trace.
Yeah.
Like I stalked them for a couple years to try to get a job.
Yeah. It's funny. You hear that in the gun industry a lot of like, I mean, Ryan Donahue has that same kind of like, I want to be in the gun industry. Yeah. It's something that if someone's listening to this, they're probably a gun person and they go, man, we hear that. Oh, you guys have a cool job. That's fun. You can do this.
Absolutely.
You can be in this industry if you seek it out.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, I mean, you're a digital webby guy. At least that's what you do for us. Yeah. And so it's like you can be an accountant and say, well, you can be in accounting for Remington or Hornady or something like that, or whatever. I wonder, as I think about it, this isn't even what we were going to talk about, but I'm just going off on a tangent. Well, okay, where would you start? Well, Ryan, I want to do that. Where would I start? I would go to nssf.org.
Yes. Job board.
nssf.org.
Yep.
They do have a job board there. POMA, the Professional Outdoor Media Association, they have a job board.
Yep.
Where else?
I mean,
LinkedIn, I guess.
LinkedIn, right? For sure. I mean, the internet. I mean, I mean, a lot of people are surprised how many, firearms industry brands are located all over the place.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, wherever you live, someone's probably there.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And because they may say, well, aren't all those guys up in the New England area? I mean, Ruger and Colt and Smith & Wesson and SIG. Well, there's a pocket there, but it seems like there's a lot of pockets.
Absolutely. I mean, all through Texas.
Up
and down the I-5 corridor. And
Florida has a lot of companies. You have even like the Phoenix, Scottsdale area, bunch of companies there.
Idaho.
Yeah. You said I-5, like you where you guys are. I mean, you're still in Oregon.
Yep.
There's a bunch of Oregon companies.
Yep.
So yeah, all over the place. And I would love to hear from the audience on that kind of stuff. If you guys comment on this, if you're watching it on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. But I mean, if you're super into guns, I will admit it's pretty fun.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
We were talking about this a little bit earlier about, there's people who work in the firearms industry who get into it because it's, in the right location and it's they interviewed for it and they got the job and they may not be a gun person, but it's rare that they don't become one.
Right.
Right. And working in the industry, I mean, especially with other people who are really into it, they'll bring you along. And it is amazing how fast it can happen. It can become your passion really quick.
So here's the other thing is typically people don't leave the gun industry.
Right.
Even if they switch jobs, switch companies, they stay within the gun industry. And I think there's a reason for that. My theory is, number one, there's a passion for the subject.
There is.
And not just the shooting guns or guns are neat part, but there's a mindset part of it, of a like-mindedness, a freedom loving culture and some of that type of stuff, which is also really important.
Absolutely.
If you're of that mindset and you're like, and everybody knows people were like, I work at a company that I'm not allowed to say my beliefs on like gun rights or something.
Right.
Well, now you're somewhere where like, wow, this is awesome.
Everybody thinks like I do.
Yeah.
And we agree on most things. And we also, especially when you're starting to talk with like marketing people, salespeople, et cetera, everyone's facing some of the same struggles. Like we're all in this together. There's a competition. I mean, we're all trying to, they're all trying to sell and et cetera. There's a competition, but everyone faces the same challenges, from being shut out, of mainstream media to.
That's an interesting point. And yes, real competitors like a Smith & Wesson and a Ruger.
Yeah.
Absolutely competitors.
Sure.
Would, in the business world, they're trying to crush each other. They're trying to gain market share.
Yep.
But they will sit down to dinner. They will work together. Absolutely. Because there is this greater common good and maybe perhaps a common enemy of people who are trying to take your gun rights and push gun control laws.
And I think that you would agree. I think that is going to get strong. The camaraderie in the industry is going to get stronger, especially now as we see kind of the focus going more towards, let's take down the manufacturers.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a new tactic. Well, it's not a new tactic, but it's a diversion.
Right. Also, one of the things that ATF Biden has been kind of floating out there, he's said it a few times. I don't know if people are catching on, but they're targeting, as he would put it, these bad gun stores.
Right.
So that's like a new little initiative for them to say, we're going to be looking at these gun stores and making sure they're doing things the right way. And he says it with this weird assumption, like all of the gun stores are doing illegal things,
right?
Which it's exactly the opposite. Most of the gun stores are doing it correctly.
It's a new branding campaign for what they used to refer to as like the gun show loophole.
Yeah.
Right. They're calling it something different and hoping that it permeates, and it's used in the mainstream and in conversation from non-gun people.
Yeah.
So that they can assume that, there's shady dealings and so on and so forth.
So going back to the whole working in the industry thing, before I did Gun Talk, I was in media. I was working for Fox Television. I worked for Cox Communications and working in advertising and sales and that kind of thing. And I went over to Gun Talk and started working with my dad, Tom, and mainly focusing on that side of things, advertising and sales. And that's what I knew. And I'm, nerd out on CPMs and impressions and all this stuff.
Right.
But he was probably 3 or 4 months in, and he said, "Hey, how's it going? How's it going calling on these companies and these people and stuff?" And I said, "It's going pretty good." I said, "I got to tell you, it's kind of weird. Everyone's so nice." And he laughed. He was like, "What? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean this weird?"
Yeah.
I said, "Well, you have to understand, like, I would make appointments to have meetings, in-person meetings with potential advertisers in my previous jobs, and they would either just straight up not show up,
right,
or just be super rude to you,
right.
And like dealing, let's be honest, like dealing with a car dealer, car dealership that's going to buy advertising.
Yeah,
I mean, some of those guys maybe aren't nice, right?
Right.
And I was like, even in the gun industry, even people who tell you no are super nice about it. They're not jerks about it.
Yeah, they remain a contact.
Yeah.
I mean, you could meet with someone and it could be unsuccessful and you could emerge as a friend. Right. Maybe you do business together in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's another media company.
Yeah.
That we'll run into at an event and everyone's cool. And, and there is a camaraderie, and I think that's exactly why when you enter, when you come into the industry, you're likely not going to leave.
Right.
You may move around, but you're probably not going to leave.
Yeah. Most people kind of want to stay within this. So they like the culture. They like the subject matter.
Yeah.
So Gary, let's just talk about guns. I mean, what have you been shooting lately, or any new guns, or any little gun projects, anything that's sitting out there for you?
So my quest kind of since, the ammo shortage, right? I've definitely been on a dry fire quest.
You have?
And have been putting a lot of time in, and have tried to just kind of switch things up a little bit and do a lot more with an elevated heart rate.
Oh, okay.
Just to stay as fresh as I can. But while doing that, I'm really trying to wrap my head around learning red dots.
Okay.
Because coming from a laser background, right, and shooting with lasers, iron sight laser, and trying to stay sharp that way, for so long, so many years, and I still believe in lasers, absolutely, but really trying to learn the dot.
Yeah.
What makes it different? What makes it better? Where the limitations are for me.
So you said dry fire, and you talked about elevated heart rate.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
So it depends. I use a few different programs that will kind of walk you through like a dry fire process, and it could be just as simple as 20 push-ups, 20 burpees, which are awful, right?
Yeah.
Even 20.
You get into 20 burpees, you're
struggling.
You're breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just as simple as side to side movements, and just trying to really focus on target acquisition quickly.
So when you do it, are you using a blue gun? Are you using a real gun that's dry? What are you doing?
Usually a real gun that's dry.
Okay.
And I'll mix things up, because there's a ton of different implements for dry fire training. Lots of new technology, from laser cartridges to like the Mantis system.
Yep.
To like laser ammo targets, things like that I can display in different places at different planes, trying to track my sights, doing it under simulated stress that I can set up for myself, and a lot of trigger time. And another kind of an unsung hero has been the dry fire mag. So I don't know if you've tried those.
I have not.
Really cool, because doing a lot of dry fire, because that's one of those a little bit goes a long way, like perfect practice type of thing, to where you are not telling yourself constantly or generating the muscle memory of press, rack.
I've noticed that when I've done it.
Yeah.
But there are just so many benefits and so many different ways to do dry fire.
Yep.
Gary, hold on 1 second. We'll be right back.
Yep.
Hey, Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Remington Ammunition. Remington's Golden Saber bonded defensive and tactical handgun ammunition. It features a lead core that's hot bonded to a brass jacket, which it produces expansion but also weight retention and holds it all together when you shoot through barriers. Made in the USA, available in 4 different calibers. Find out more at remington.com/handgun. Also, Safariland. They offer gear, apparel, hearing protection, armor, and of course, holsters. Their 575 IWB holster is designed to fit multiple firearms in one holster, and it's available in the slim fits. These concealed carry guns for Glocks, Springfields, SIG, M&Ps, and more. It's also optics capable, and it has adjustable cant and a grip lock system for extra security. Visit Safariland.com and use the code GUNTALK20Q3 for 20% off. Also, Armscor Rock Island Armory. Their newest one is the VRF-14. This is a semi-auto, short barrel, 12-gauge firearm that features a pistol grip so you can shoot it from the hip. The VRF-14 comes with a 5-round magazine, but it's capable and compatible with the VR Series 9 and 19-round mags as well. Made in America. Find out more at Rock Island VRF-14 at the Armscor website, armscor.com. Also, CrossBreed Holsters. Find a variety of holsters for all your types of carry firearm configurations at crossbreedholsters.com. They've got the Super Tuck, the Mini Tuck, the Reckoning, Snap Slide holsters, and belly bands, gun belts. Inside the waistband, outside the waistband, in a bag, or across your chest. Find one today at crossbreedholsters.com. So you're doing exercises to get your heart rate up,
yep,
and then you're doing dry fire drills.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, as much as I can. I mean, it's a way to get trigger time.
And also going to the dot. So I have done a classic gun sight with a dot, yep, for a media event, and I got, I think, 3 days with a dot there. And I mean, I've shot red dots on pistols, and in the last year and a half, a lot more, because when we're doing filming for Guns and Gear, what do we have? We have people talking about, was it Springfield or Smith & Wesson or Ruger? It's like, now it's available for a dot.
Right.
And so, and we also have, different companies like Hollison and SIG and even, Springfield Armory with their Hex optics. Right. Yeah. They all have these optics, and we're shooting them and having to try them out and use them. So I've gotten a pretty good amount of trigger time. Now, I would say a lot of it is not practice.
Right.
It's trigger time with it.
Yeah.
It's not dedicated, thought out practice as much as, okay, we're going to load up a bunch of mags. I'm going to shoot it with the dot and use the dot, but getting pretty comfortable. I actually just started carrying a pistol with a dot on it.
Yeah.
That, I can't say what the pistol is because it it releases in a couple weeks,
right?
And then you'll hear about it. Yeah. But because I went out and shot it, was really impressed with the pistol and the dot on it and all of that. And was like, you know what? I'm going to take that plunge. But I've deliberately, like, basically each day as I put it on and I take it off, I get some reps in.
Exactly.
And unload the gun and just press out, press out, and trying to get more comfortable with just the dot just appearing.
I'm glad you said that. That was something I was thinking about the other day of that. A lot of times at training courses, they'll call it a free rep, right? So you're online and it's draw to low ready, right? And you'll see a lot of students they'll draw and come to the low ready.
And they'll hold the gun at a low ready.
That's free practice. Clear the holster.
When you could have drawn, presented out.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay, draw, present it out, get a sight picture, and now come to low ready.
It's a free rep.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with you're loading up for the day. Pants on, gun on, or at night you're taking it off. Get those reps in. I mean, doing it safely.
Yes,
all that, of course.
Safe direction, unloaded gun. Yeah.
But that's a perfect opportunity to think about, like, your garments, how your shirt hangs, however you're carrying, clearing those things, tearing a button if you have to.
I will say that it's like the test of, I kind of have my wardrobe for a concealed carry, but it is also like, okay, I'm going to draw from concealment with what I'm actually wearing.
Right.
And sometimes it's better than others. You're like,
sure,
man, I have to really clear this garment.
Yeah. And it's keeping that in mind.
I got my medium shirt on.
Right. Yeah.
So what kind of dots? Is it a particular type of dots or is it a variety of stuff?
It's been a variety.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I've probably spent most of my learning time on an RMR Type 2, 3.25.
Okay.
Way, which seems to be the sweet spot. I mean, I was trying to go with, kind of what would be industry standard, but just, learning it.
Talk about a rabbit hole we could just go into is the size of the dot in the red dot.
Right.
And either you are
settings.
You're either sitting here going, I've always wondered which is the perfect MOA size dot, or you're going, what in the hell are you talking about?
Right.
Who cares? It's a dot.
Exactly.
But you could argue it either way. I mean, I remember Aim Point coming out with a 2 MOA dot. And this wasn't a micro red dot. This is an Aim Point that was a more of a rifle optic kind of thing.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me because you can absolutely shoot a dot on an AR at 100, 150, 200 yards. Yeah. And you're going to want that smaller dot on smaller targets being precise. But I tell you what, I mean, I think we were playing with some of the Shield optics.
Yeah.
And I think they have a 6 and an 8 MOA.
Yeah.
And you go, well,
I mean, you're thinking about distance, right?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like a big old dot.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't honestly tried them all extensively.
Right.
But, I don't know.
But it comes down to try as many as you can.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially for someone who's getting ready, maybe an experienced shooter who is wanting to switch to the dot. I don't know. In my experience and talking to other people, everyone kind of views it a little bit differently. So there isn't a one size fits all.
Yeah.
Really. But it definitely comes down to, at least what I've found, it comes down to really, really practicing to find that dot immediately versus trying to, I mean, this is 101 for red dots, but versus trying to find it in your window.
Yeah.
Punch out to your target and your reps, the reps that you've put in, that dot should be there.
What you're really doing is you're training your eyes.
Exactly.
And you're training your eyes to don't look at the optic.
Right.
Look at your target and let the dot appear. If you see that dot on the target, the way I kind of try to do it is I could start pressing the trigger as I fine tune where the dot is on the target, which is all in a matter of a half second or something like that. But it's okay. There it is. Press, boom.
Yeah.
You know,
which, and you know, for defensive purposes, it really comes down to the place on your target where you're focusing. Because I mean, how many times have you been to the range or done a course and you've shot a group that looks great and you feel really, really good about it, but it's like an option target or something that it doesn't have a definable like bullseye.
Sure.
And your group is in the wrong spot, but it's a good group. Right. I mean,
where were you looking?
Exactly.
I was looking at the target, but where on the target?
Right.
I don't know. The target.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, my trigger control, look at it.
I hit it
great.
and look, I got all those 4 shots are all close to each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, that's a dot thing, definitely, because with iron sights, that hard focus on the front sight, just as an example, I mean, you have decided to draw a pistol. You're looking at your target at that point because you're making that conscious decision to do so. Then you're focused on your front sight, right? So you're changing planes immediately, and you're like you said, you're teaching yourself. There's my target. Here's the spot that I'm shooting at, and I'm drawing to that spot. My dot is there. I'm looking through it.
I wonder if that would be that would be the same as if we think about when you are shooting at a flying object like a sporting clays or a duck. Yeah. They say don't look at the duck, look at the head of the duck, or even more, look at the beak of the duck, right? Yeah. And like don't just because my grandfather used to say, and he was a great shot. He would say when you're starting to get lazy eyes, your eyes are like looking in the direction of the target. And it's like, stop all that. You need to be laser focused. So if you're looking at a clay, are you looking at the front edge? And the good clay shooters will say, I can see the dimples in the clay. Yeah. I mean, you played baseball. Yeah. Yeah. It's very similar.
Absolutely.
I mean, some of these great hitters, what do they see? What do they see when they see the baseball?
You're looking for a seam pattern as you're trying to hit to help recognize the pitch or the release point. If it changes just slightly, you know that arm slot. You know what pitches come. At least you have a better chance of knowing what pitches.
Right, right. But, and it's not just I'm looking at the pitcher and there's going to be a ball coming.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And it's similar to sports like that where you're having to block out even just for a split second. I mean, with defensive shooting, you're having to be cognizant of everything that's going on, but then you're having to be laser focused on one specific thing and then back to.
Yeah, it's really tough. I was going to say that because you go, well, you should focus really tight. So if you say, well, I'm upper thoracic, upper chest area is what I'm really trying to focus on, not just the general bad guy. Yeah. But that does sort of almost, I guess, I don't know, somebody's going to tell me I'm stupid on this, but you're almost trying to have tunnel vision.
Yeah. In
a sense, you're like, well, I'm not looking at his hands at this point. Yeah. I'm trying to really focus in on one area.
Right. Right. Well, and I think that's an advantage of both lasers and dots because it is threat focused shooting, right? You're looking downrange, you're putting hits downrange. You just happen to be focused on something that's a little bit further beyond your front sight at that time. But I think, especially as I get older and, it starts getting harder to see things or focus on things. I'm having to change planes a little bit less. So I can come off target and gather my awareness a little bit quicker than I would be able to with, a hard front sight focus.
Yeah.
But as I'm learning the dot, I'm also finding out I'm a little bit slower. I'm a little bit slower than that front sight. Especially at close distance.
And we know that dots are fast, but it's not really that a dot is slower. It's just we're trying to get comfortable with it.
Exactly.
And get really proficient with it.
Right.
You think about, I don't know, certain equipment that whether it's in golf or racing or whatever, it's like a lot of times that equipment that really the pros use can be at first harder to use. Sure. And if you're hitting blades as a golfer, you're like an expert versus a big hollow cavity that's forgiving and all that stuff. It's like, but you can do more with it, but you have to be really tuned up.
You have to
take full advantage of it.
Yeah. You have to match up with the equipment.
Yeah,
for sure.
So let's see. Lately, and this one's out. I can talk about it. The Springfield Armory Emissary.
Oh, it looks great.
You got to mess with it. You're here in the office this week.
Yep.
Man, it's a really nice 1911.
Absolutely, and it's. I mean, if you forget for a second that it's a 1911 and a classic design, I mean, it looks. It's definitely a modern pistol, right? Based on a classic design. It's cool.
Squared off trigger guard, forged frame, has a rail on it. It's a big old full size gun.
Yeah. Flat face trigger.
Yeah. Pleasure to shoot. But they did a nice job with that one. And there are more coming because we are weeks away from the NRA show in Houston, Texas. And I mean, the NRA show is interesting because it's multiple things. Yes. There's the NRA component of it, but there's all these companies there with booths. And because we've had a weird year and a half with no SHOT Show, this is going to be a place where a lot of product launches are happening.
For sure. SHOT Show being where the industry meets the industry, and the NRA show being where the industry meets the public.
Right.
Right. And to your point, the industry hasn't really had a public platform in which to launch new products. And there's one coming up.
Yep. So look for that. Also, I guess I'll just drop a plug on Thursday night. The Thursday night of the NRA show. So they believe that is September 2nd.
Yep.
September 2nd, Thursday, September 2nd in Houston, Texas at the 8th Wonder Brewery. Gary and I are in a gun industry band called the Hired Guns. We just play cover music. It's a free event. Everybody's welcome to come out.
Worth every penny.
It's free and it's worth every penny.
Yep.
But it's brought to you by Lockdown. They kicked in some dollars to really just help us get all the gear and all that stuff situated. They're going to be giving away prizes. So if you are coming in for the NRA show or you live in the Houston area, just come on down. It's not very far from the convention center where everything's happening anyway. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it'll be great. 2 sets, I think.
2 sets? Yeah. It'll be easy to be warmed up because it'll be, like 105 in Houston, I think. Right. So
8th Wonder Brewery. Right?
8th Wonder Brewery. So check that out. But thanks for being with us, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So now you guys have marching orders. Go do some burpees, go do some push-ups, and go try to focus on your red dot and see how that goes. Yep. Make sure your gun's unloaded, safety first. And this week, go do your part for gun rights. Get off your butt, spend 5 minutes, write an email, make a phone call, and then also be that good ambassador and take someone out shooting or answer some good gun questions and help your neighbors out. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.